He was the shelter's gray ghost, the perpetual resident of Kennel D7, a fixture so constant he seemed almost part of the concrete structure itself. His name was Murphy, but few used it. To most, he was simply the old hound mix, or, more often, sadly, just that dog back there. For years, for long soul-crushing years within these walls, preceded by an unknown number of years, enduring profound neglect. Before that, Murphy had watched countless other dogs arrive, get adopted, and leave, while he remained. He was the dog nobody wanted, overlooked, passed by, invisible. His presence was a quiet, heartbreaking testament to a life starved of affection, care, and basic human kindness. Murphy's history, pieced together from animal control notes and his physical condition upon arrival, spoke of chronic neglect. He'd been found wandering as a stray near a dilapidated rural property after neighbors reported the owners had moved away, apparently leaving him behind like unwanted furniture. He was dangerously thin then, his ribs starkly visible, his coat dull, patchy, and infested with ticks and fleas. He had chronic, untreated ear infections that had clearly caused him pain for years, leaving his ear canals thickened and scarred. Several of his teeth were broken or rotten, suggesting a poor diet or perhaps even past trauma. His nails were horrifically overgrown, curling under, making walking painful. Emotionally, he was completely shut down, unresponsive to human interaction, retreating into himself as a defense mechanism against a world that had only ever offered him indifference or worse. He wasn't aggressive, not overtly fearful like some trauma cases, but rather profoundly, deeply withdrawn. He didn't solicit attention. He wouldn't approach the front of the kennel when potential adopters walked by. There were no enthusiastic tail wags, no hopeful barks, no friendly muzzle pushed through the bars, seeking a scratch. Murphy would simply lie on his worn plastic cot, usually facing the back wall, a picture of resignation. He moved slowly, stiffly, likely due to untreated arthritis, exacerbated by years of poor nutrition and possibly sleeping on hard surfaces. He looked old, weary, and utterly defeated. Potential adopters, often seeking playful puppies or dogs who immediately engaged with them, walked right past Kennel D7 without a second glance. Families with young children were guided away. Murphy showed no interest in play, and his withdrawn nature was misinterpreted as potential grumpiness. People looking for an active companion saw his stiffness and age and moved on. Even those specifically looking to rescue an older dog often hesitated. Murphy didn't sell himself. He didn't make eye contact. He offered no glimmer of the loving companion hidden deep beneath the layers of neglect. He simply existed, quiet and unobtrusive, blending into the background noise of the shelter. He was the epitome of the dog nobody wanted. Shelter staff did their best, providing food, water, basic medical care, treating the initial infestations, managing the chronic ear issues as best they could, extracting the worst teeth, and a clean kennel. Some volunteers made special efforts initially, sitting outside his run, talking softly, offering treats. Murphy tolerated their presence, but never truly responded. He wouldn't take treats from their hands, wouldn't engage. Over time, as new urgent cases poured in daily, the extra efforts for Murphy dwindled. Staff rotations meant fewer people knew his full history. He became part of the furniture, his care routine, his lack of engagement accepted as his baseline. A quiet hopelessness settled around him. Whispers occasionally surfaced about his quality of life, about whether keeping him warehoused indefinitely was truly humane. His prospects looked bleak, bordering on non-existent. For years, an eternity in shelter time. Then, one dreary Saturday afternoon, the Anderson family walked into the shelter. They weren't typical adopters. Emily and David Anderson, along with their quiet, thoughtful teenage son, Liam, weren't looking for a specific breed or age. They had recently lost their beloved 15-year-old rescue dog and felt ready to open their home again, specifically wanting to offer a chance to a dog who had been overlooked, one who truly needed them. They had explained to the adoption counselor, "We're not looking for the easiest dog or the cutest puppy. We're looking for the dog who needs us most, the one everyone else walks past." The counselor, perhaps sensing something different about them, hesitated for a moment, then said, "Well, there's Murphy. He's been here a very long time. He's very quiet, older, needs a patient home. Honestly, he doesn't really show well." She led them back towards Kennel D7, managing expectations. When they reached his run, Murphy was in his usual spot, lying on his cot, facing away from them. He didn't stir as they approached. Emily knelt down quietly, peering through the chain link. David and Liam stood back respectfully, observing without crowding him. They saw the graying muzzle, the slightly stiff way he held himself, even at rest, the utter lack of engagement with his surroundings. They saw the visible signs of his long neglect and even longer shelter stay. Where others saw a hopeless case, Emily saw profound sadness and a desperate need for peace. David saw resilience, masked by resignation. Liam, quiet like his parents, felt an unexpected pang of connection to the dog's stillness, his invisibility. "How long did you say he's been here?" Emily asked softly, her voice full of empathy. "Just over 4 years now," the counselor replied, a touch of wariness in her tone. 4 years. The words hung in the air. Emily looked at David, a silent communication passing between them. They had known rescuing an overlooked dog would be challenging, but for years spent waiting in a concrete run, it was almost unimaginable. Liam spoke up, his voice barely above a whisper. "He looks really lonely." They asked if they could meet him in a quiet visiting room. The process of getting Murphy out of his kennel was slow. He moved reluctantly, head down, tail clamped, allowing the leash to be clipped on, but showing no enthusiasm, only tolerance. In the small, bare meeting room, Murphy immediately went to the corner furthest from the door and lay down, facing the wall. The Andersons didn't try to force interaction. They simply sat down on the floor, a comfortable distance away, and talked quietly amongst themselves and with the counselor about Murphy's known history and needs. They learned about his chronic ear issues needing regular cleaning, his arthritis requiring daily medication, his dental problems, and most significantly, his profound emotional shutdown. After about 20 minutes, Emily quietly placed a soft, high-value treat a few feet away from Murphy, then went back to her spot. Murphy didn't move. A few minutes later, David did the same, placing another treat slightly closer. Still no reaction. Liam then took a small, soft, squeaky toy from his pocket and gently rolled it towards the corner, not directly at Murphy, but nearby. Murphy's ear twitched almost imperceptibly. He didn't look at the toy, but he registered its presence. They sat there for nearly an hour. Murphy didn't approach them. He didn't take the treats. He didn't look at the toy again. By typical shelter meet-and-greet standards, it was a complete failure. As the counselor prepared to take Murphy back, sounding apologetic, Emily stopped her. "We'll take him," she said quietly but firmly. The counselor blinked, surprised. "Are you sure?" "He did I. He didn't really respond at all." David nodded. "We know. He doesn't need to respond to us right now. He just needs a quiet place to land, to feel safe. We understand this will take a very long time. We're prepared for that. He's waited long enough." The adoption paperwork felt momentous as they finalized the details, arranging to pick him up the next day with his medications and special food. The Andersons felt a profound sense of commitment mixed with the daunting reality of the task ahead. They were bringing home a dog who might never play fetch, never greet them excitedly at the door, perhaps never even fully trust them. They were doing it anyway. Because after 4 years of being the dog nobody wanted, Murphy deserved a miracle, and they were determined to be that miracle, however long it took. Bringing Murphy home was uneventful, which was exactly what the Andersons aimed for. They led him quietly into their calm house, showing him the soft orthopedic bed they'd set up in a quiet corner of the living room, his water bowl, and the back door leading to a securely fenced yard. They had removed noisy toys, rugs he might trip on, and ensured everything was predictable. Then they largely ignored him, allowing him space and time to decompress without pressure. Murphy explored the immediate area cautiously, sniffing tentatively before retreating to the new bed, curling up tightly, facing the wall. The first days, weeks, and even months followed a pattern of quiet coexistence. The Andersons established a gentle, predictable routine: quiet walks on leash around their peaceful neighborhood, regular mealtimes, consistent administration of his arthritis and ear medication hidden in tasty food. They spoke softly around him, moved slowly, and never forced interaction. They celebrated minuscule victories that others wouldn't even notice. The first time Murphy ate his meal, while they were still in the same room. The first time he didn't immediately face the wall when lying on his bed. The day he briefly made eye contact with Emily before looking away. Liam played a quiet but significant role. He would often sit on the floor near Murphy's bed, reading or doing homework, simply sharing space without expectation. One afternoon, about 2 months after Murphy arrived, Liam was reading when Murphy, after watching him intently for several minutes, slowly stood up, walked stiffly over, and gently nudged Liam's hand with his nose before retreating back to his bed. Liam froze, heart pounding, then slowly offered a tiny piece of plain cooked chicken he kept in his pocket for such unlikely moments. Murphy eyed it, then tentatively took it from his fingers. It was the first time Murphy had initiated contact, the first treat he'd taken directly from a hand in their home. Progress continued at a glacial pace, but it was undeniably happening. Murphy started occasionally following Emily into the kitchen, watching her prepare meals from a safe distance. He began lying on his bed, facing the room more often than facing the wall. He allowed David to gently clean his ears without protest, seeming to understand it brought relief. He started showing subtle signs of recognizing the routine: a slight head lift when David picked up the leash, a quiet presence near the kitchen around dinner time. The first real tail wag was so unexpected it brought tears to Emily's eyes. It happened nearly 6 months after his adoption. David came home from work, and as he entered, speaking a calm greeting, Murphy, who was dozing on his bed, lifted his head, looked at David, and gave 2 slow, hesitant thumps of his tail against the cushion. It wasn't exuberant, but it was unmistakable, a genuine expression of recognition, perhaps even contentment. Life for Murphy transformed completely, albeit subtly. He discovered the quiet joy of sunbeams warming his old bones as he napped near the patio door. He learned that human hands could be sources of gentle ear rubs and medication that eased his aches, rather than sources of pain or neglect. He learned that food appeared reliably, that water bowls were always full, that his bed was always soft and safe. He even showed fleeting moments of interest in Liam's quiet offerings of soft toys, once carrying a plush, squeaky carrot back to his bed with him. He would likely never be a normal, outgoing dog. Strangers still made him anxious. Loud noises sent him looking for reassurance, and he preferred quiet observation to active play. But he was no longer the invisible, shut-down ghost of Kennel D7. He was Murphy Anderson, a beloved member of a family who saw his worth when nobody else did. He greeted his family members with soft tail wags and quiet affection, often resting his head on Emily's lap in the evenings, or following David out to the garden. He formed a special, quiet bond with Liam, the boy who simply shared his space and understood his need for calm. Seeing Murphy now, snoozing peacefully on the sofa, trotting slightly less stiffly thanks to medication and better nutrition, his coat healthier, his eyes softer and more aware, it was hard to reconcile him with the hopeless case found years ago, abandoned and neglected, or the forgotten dog wasting away in the shelter. His journey from unimaginable years of neglect, from being the dog nobody wanted, to finding his miracle family, was a quiet testament to resilience and the profound healing power of unwavering patience, acceptance, and unconditional love. The Andersons didn't just save Murphy's life, they gave him a life worth living, proving that miracles don't always shout. Sometimes they unfold slowly, quietly, in the steady gaze of a dog finally learning he is safe, wanted, and deeply, irrevocably loved.